My name is Ogbo Awoke Obo, and we are talking about the 7 employee retention hacks, which I have observed over the past 10 years when I've consulted for organizations within and outside the country. Yesterday, we talked about the number 1 employee retention hack that would help to keep your employees working with you long enough for them to build the vision, to be part of the vision, to own the vision, and as well as for you to build them and make them better individuals, bigger individuals than when they joined your organization. So the employee retention hack number 2 that I'm sharing with you today is career path. Many businesses do not have well-defined career path. And this is particularly true for small businesses. The big multinationals like the Shell I worked with and also Chevron that I worked with, they are very good in this area. And this is no reason why people typically work with Shell or with Chevron for their lifetime. People work there 5, 10, 15, 20, even 30, 35 years. And so people will stay in your company because there's a career growth plan. But what happens in many businesses is that you employ someone as a salesperson, and that's just what the person does, just running around town in a vehicle, doing sales. You employ somebody as an account officer. That's basically what the person has been doing, for the past 5, 6, 7 years. You bring in somebody as a production assistant, and the person remains a perpetual production assistant. It doesn't work that way, especially if that person finds another opportunity to leave your company, another opportunity to grow. They will leave. When they don't leave, it generates this zero-sum game in your organization. It's like when you have what's the best illustration? Is it a cockroach or something in a jar? And then you shake them, then everyone is struggling to find the escape. And so that's what's happening in your organization. It's just one giant prison where people can't leave, they can't grow. So it automatically generates office politics. And the last thing you want in your company is dirty office politics. So when people are no longer growing, they turn on one another and start cannibalizing each other. When there is only one room in the organization, maybe the room to become a manager, and there's only one management position, and then you have 70, 80 people working under that manager. That is a very, very easy setup for office politics and the cannibalization of your organizational design. So what I would recommend is that for every position in your organogram, before you even bring in people, think in advance how you are going to grow them, how the people can grow in your organization and not just remain in one role. That's what makes people leave. And if you're a small business and you can't quite make that happen, so what you can try is other ideas like cross-functional teams. So once in a while, you put people in production together in a team with people in research and development, people in sales. You mix them together, people in some management function. You mix them together in a team, so it gives them this opportunity or a semblance of growth. The other thing you can do if you're a small business, if you have branches, you can rotate people working in different branches. So they work in Accra branch today. This year, next year, you send them off with packages, to Tamale branch. And then next time you send them off to another branch. And so you create this semblance of growth. But whatever happens, take the issue of career path very, very seriously in your organization. If people come and they can map their future, map the growth in your organization, they will stay. But if they come and they are just stagnant on one career position, it starts affecting their enjoyment of your company. It starts, making people become toxic and angry, and that affects their attitude and then automatically affect their performance. So that is employee retention hack number 2, career growth. Stay tuned this time tomorrow for employee retention hack number 3. My name is Ogbo Awoke Obo. Most businesses struggle to grow because they have hit the limitation of their leadership. I transform businesses by helping the leaders reshape the way they think about themselves and about their work. And part of this leadership challenge is employee retention. I think that many organizations underrate the importance of employee retention as a very, very strong competitive factor. When I did my executive coaching certification, I was very interested in finding out why some companies in some parts of the world lasted for as long as 1,400 years, like some companies in Japan have been in operation for more than 1,400 years. There are other companies in Europe that have been in operation for 600, 800, 1,000 years. And I was curious as to why that is the case, because most businesses hardly make it beyond 10 or 20 or at most 40, 50 years. Typically, when the founder of the business dies, that business dies as well with the founder and promoter. So one of the things I discovered was really how important culture, the organizational culture, is in the sustainability of business. And related to organizational culture is the issue of talent. Having employees work with your organization for a prolonged length of time. You see, if people keep coming and going, they keep working, they come in, they stay with you for 2 months, for 3 months, for 6 months, for 9 months, for 1 year, and they go, and you keep changing employees that way, that would not mean well for a business that wants to be in operation for 100, 200, 300 years. And so a key decision for leadership is, how do we create organization where people can work with us long enough for them to contribute their best, and then for the organization also to do them well over that period of time? How do we create an organization where people would like to come in and become part of a community, become part of a big mission, become part of, a transgenerational vision? That is the conversation around employee retention. I once worked for a client whom every time I went there to consult for them, which was approximately every 3 months, I saw new faces in the management, and I saw new faces, totally new faces in the organization. Every time I went there were different people. So the turnover rate was just a little bit unusual. So I called the CEO and I said to him, the impact of this high turnover in your company is that it makes you a perpetual startup, because that's what it is. You're a perpetual startup, and it's going to be very difficult to transform or to grow a business with such high employee turnover. So over the next 7 days, I am going to be sharing with you 7 employee retention hacks. These employee retention hacks are things I have found really, really phenomenal and very, very useful in the past more than a decade of consulting with many organizations within and outside the country. So I have found some 7 powerful hacks. Some of them applied in the multinationals that I worked with, because I think that multinationals like Shell that I worked with, and also Chevron that I worked with, do this really very well, because you find in these organizations people who have worked with them and grown with them for 5, 10, 20, and even 30 or more years. So what is it that Shell or Chevron or some of these multinationals do so well to have people like Apple? I learned about someone who worked in Apple for 30 something years. What do they do to keep people working, growing, and providing their best for an organization? We'll be looking at these 7 key hacks. And so about this time tomorrow, I'm going to come up with the first employee retention hack, and stay tuned. My name is Ogbo Awoke Obo. So there's this hotel in Victoria Island that I often use whenever I have something to do in Lagos. And each time I went to that hotel, I would usually request a room between floor 7 to 9 or maybe 10. I think, I don't know, I don't remember exactly. I think that hotel has up to 22 or 23 floors. So this last time I went there, the receptionist checked me in a room on the 17th floor. I believe it was 1706. And I started protesting. No, give me a room between 7 and 10. She smiled and said, "Hey, Mr. Obo, I think you might like it. Why don't you check it? If you don't like it, I can always change your room." Anyway, I went to room 1706 on 17th floor. And boy, did I like what I saw there. The view was awesome. I literally saw the skyline of all of Victoria Island way into the lagoon. And it was as if I was using that hotel for the first time, because the views I've been having from 7th or 8th floor, I'd never seen them. Now, it was going to be a very, very difficult thing for me on the 17th floor to argue with somebody on the 7th floor about what I was seeing, because we were not seeing the same thing. And it is exactly the same thing with consciousness. You can never operate beyond your level of consciousness. And so when I have worked with clients like MTN, like Flutterwave, like Kutix, like name them, several clients, the objective was always to lift the leaders to a higher level of consciousness so that they can make better decisions, take bigger initiatives, manage the organization better, see their markets from an elevated view that they would never see on the 5th floor. And so I'm inviting you to our annual Leaders Retreat. We hold it every January so that you and your management team can always begin to look at the year from a higher view, from a bigger level of consciousness, to have an understanding of what the year, the next 12 to 18 months is going to look like, and what you need to do as a business to take advantage of all the opportunities in the year, and then to deal with the threats and the risks that you're going to find in your industry. So why don't you chat up my office on 0808 800 1000, and then you'll receive the full instruction on how to sign up. And I'll be looking forward to seeing you there on the 14th of January 2023. And until I see you then, keep showing up, for you have no idea what's coming your way next. I'll talk to you real soon.